call the special meeting of the Hamilton Central School Board of Education, April 10th, 2017, to order. We will have community participation tonight, so I will read the protocols now. The meeting will be videotaped. A Board of Education meeting is a meeting held in public, not a public meeting. Anyone wishing to address the board may do so during the one public comment period, and the board will determine whether to respond at that time or to defer issues raised to a later time. Anyone addressing the board is asked to state his or her name and use the microphone provided for audience members, and we can give you one of ours, I guess, so that those unable to attend this meeting will be able to hear what transpired. All speakers are to conduct themselves in a civil manner. The board will not permit discussions of individual district personnel or students in public session. The board asks each speaker to be concise and reserves the right to limit the amount of time for each speaker to 3 minutes. Any questions should be directed to the board, not to administrators or other staff members. It is up to the board to determine what is appropriate to discuss and distribute at its meetings. And I'm going to just let you know, change in the order of the agenda. So we have 2.0 new business, and the first thing that will happen is the 2.1, Dr. Alston and Mr. Crum will present the budget. We have 3.0, and that will be public participation. So we're moving that before any motions we might make tonight. So 3.0 will be public participation, and 4.0 will be the 2 motions that are listed in the original agenda.
Very what about executive session?
Okay, and that's the other change at the end of the meeting. So that's going to be 5.0 will be future business, and we will go into executive session.
What are the 2 motions that are on there?
One is to adopt the proposed budget, and as Matt said, that means we're adopting a dollar amount. We are not adopting how that money is specifically spent. And the second one is to approve the property tax report card for Hamilton. Okay, so we'll start with budget discussion.
Thank you.
This is short. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, members of the board. We're presenting tonight's preliminary budget. One of the things that we've done differently this year is we've expanded the number of budget coffees in an attempt to engage more people in the process. What we did find out of that is some really thoughtful discussions in terms of trends in the district and some of the challenges and opportunities that we have. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Crum, who's going to walk you through the budget and really the breaking news that impacted Matt having to kind of really get organized again on Monday, thanks to our government involvement.
Thanks, Dr. Ed. And those of you that are here tonight, I'm glad that you've been to some, if not all, of our budget copies. So most of what you're going to see and hear tonight won't come as any surprise. The latest development, the biggest change, if you recall last Thursday at our most recent coffee, we talked about the uncertainty and the unknown of the New York State budget and how we were pressed with moving forward regardless of the status of the state budget. I think it was shortly after 9 o'clock on Friday night, of all times, just when you thought things were starting to go off tracks, the state did approve their budget. They're still in the process this week and really finalizing all the bills. We are still getting information trickling in bit by bit to the school districts. But the good news is, we talked about last week, I had projected sort of an aggressive estimate as far as our foundation aid, and actually we're going to get more. So it's obviously great news. So let's start with taxes. And this is sort of going back a couple months into January. This is our 6th year, believe it or not, in the tax cap era in New York State. So I'm not going to go through the details. We went through these at the coffee, some of the board meetings, but what you need to know is that our allowable levy increase under the New York State tax cap is 1.5% for 2017-18. For 6 years, it's commonly referred to as the 2% tax cap. And what these numbers show is that really that can be a little bit misleading. It's actually the lesser of 2% or the statewide CPI, Consumer Price Index, or rate of inflation, commonly referred to. And this year, that amount was 1.26%. Pointer doesn't go that far. 1.26%, so which is much more than we had last year. Last year was like 0.12%, so there's literally no growth statewide. There's also a local tax-based growth factor for all new construction within the district, basically additions to the tax base. It's not increases in assessments, that's actual physical additions to the tax base. That boosts us up a little more. And then we have a capital levy exclusion that is for all voter-approved projects in debt service that was approved through prior referendum. And you have an exemption for that. Now you'll see our exemption went down a little bit, and that's because of, from the 245 to 228, that's because of the refinancing of our debt last June. So that's a good thing. There's a savings on the expenditure side as well. No exemption for TRS or ERS. We also have a pilot payment next year, estimated around $7,000 that we have to back out of our money. So when all is said and done, our allowable levy is 1.5%. Now, if you follow the local press in the next couple of weeks, you're going to see a wide range of allowable levies, depending on districts. If they're undergoing a capital project, pilots coming out of the books, going off the books. There's a wide range of allowable tax levies for all school districts. So we're at 1.5%. Quickly, just to look at the tax history. About 3 weeks ago at our budget conference, we had a great discussion on taxes, affordability of housing. And Debbie can attest to it. We hear it every fall. Most people aren't too happy when they come in the fall to pay their taxes. But you can see in the era, this is looking at 7 years, the 6 years of the tax cap era, we did have 1 year, 15, 16, where we did have a successful override. But every other year has been tax cap compliant. And you'll see, which is the great news, proposed for next year, this is a change from last week. We're proposing a levy increase of just under 1%, 0.99%. We had a balanced budget that took shape that we were prepared to present tonight. We had about $30,000 more of foundation aid that we found out over the weekend. So that's what allowed us to reduce the tax levy by that little more foundation aid that came in. So now I think it's important to note that it's from going down to 1.5 down to 1. All prior years we've been right at our limit, based on uncertainty, and frankly because we needed to be. There could be a year, next year, the year after, in the near future, that we may need to override again. And that's the reality. We don't know what the economic indicators are going to say, what's going to happen within the district, what our needs are going to be. So I think it's important to note that, yes, 1%, just under 1% is fantastic. But there may be a time in the near future that we have to look to override again. But certainly good news from what transpired over the weekend. So now bear in mind, this presentation was on board docs on Friday, so we were all set to go, and there's been some changes. I made minor tweaks, but I didn't have time. I was out of the building half the day today. I didn't have time to go through and revamp the whole presentation, but most of this is a moot point now, but this is, as of Friday, we had the governor's proposal, we had what the Assembly was saying, we had what the Senate was saying, what it meant for us, what we were planning on doing, but that's sort of a moot point right now. So if you're interested in where we were on Friday, go check out the slide. All right, so let's take a look. Let's kind of break the budget down into 2 pieces. First, the revenues. 0.99% of tax levy increase is about $70,000. So it's a $70,000 increase in the tax levy. We're seeing an increase in total aid of a little over 4%, including foundation aid, which is great for us. We're seeing a big increase in our high-cost aid that amounts to about $85,000. This is an expense-driven aid for high-cost students that we've enrolled in outside placements or inside placements, but tend to drive high costs. There's a 2 to 3 year lag depending on public or private placement. If you think back 2 to 3 years, we saw a big increase in our special education costs. We're starting to benefit from some of that aid coming back into the district. Great for next year. This will eventually level off as these kids either age out or move out of these programs. And that's one of the challenges with the school district budgeting. You know, a lot of times the aid that's attached to some of these expense-driven items, they don't match up year to year. So where we incurred the costs a few years ago, now we're starting to see the aid units. $40,000 or so increase in BOCES aid. Again, this is expense-driven aids from this current year that we'll receive next year. So it's a little bit closer in that it's, you know, a 1 year delay. And then I changed the dollar amount and put a big strike through the next bullet. What I was projecting for foundation aid and was going to say was unknown is now we know it's about $100,000, about $32,000 more than what we budgeted. That's about a 3.35% increase in foundation aid, only foundation aid. So it's great news for us. How that ended up at 3.35, we haven't gotten all the details yet. There'll be multiple page formulas saying how that number was derived. It's probably a baseline figure that's applied to all districts, and then there's certain factors that apply to different districts depending on wealth, depending on need, student counts, and whatnot. So I haven't had a lot of time to digest it. I looked at the data for our BOCES. We're right in the middle. There's some that are more, some that are less, but again, this is so new. We're not real sure all the specifics of the budget bills. So on the expense side, just some good news first. We talked about this the last couple of weeks. We are adding one full-time elementary teacher based on an anticipated larger kindergarten class. We currently have We currently have 37 students registered for kindergarten as of April 6th. Now, historically, we obviously get more registrants from now on, after the budget's been developed. So in 2015, we had 9, between now and the start of school. Last year, it was only 3, but we anticipate at least 40. So we anticipate 3 sections of kindergarten. One of the things we've also talked about is bringing some special ed students back to the district, which is number one, first and foremost, it's good for these students. We don't bring kids back simply to save money. We put kids in the positions that they're going to be best suited, we can best address their needs. In doing that, we are going to save some money, but we will be hiring, we anticipate, 1 teaching assistant and 1 teacher's aide for these special ed classrooms. We now have a continuum K-12 of special ed classrooms. Social studies position, we do have a retirement, so through attrition, we're going to reduce the social studies department by 0.33 FTE. So we're going to hire 0.67. Currently, grades 9 through 11 in the high school, you've heard this before, we have 100 kids, 102 kids. So we have some very small classes in secondary. There's just not a need for a full-time social studies teacher at this time. And again, that's for next year. We've also budgeted for the return of a full-time director of PPS. What are we going to do? Well, we don't know. We budgeted for the return of full-time PPS. We may be able to have Fred on an interim basis come back 3 days a week. We may hire somebody full-time. That's up in the air, but included in the budget is the return of that full-time. Special ed I talked about. Employee benefits continues to be the main cost driver. Thankfully, we're getting a little relief, TRS and ERS, which is employer contributions to the teachers and local employees' retirement systems. I think it's about $55,000 we saved through that. Health insurance, 6.5 increases across the board on our premiums, which amounts to about $150,000. So if you look at our entire budget, more than half of the total expenditure increase is just in health insurance premium. So that's not unique to Hamilton. It's not unique to school districts. Any business owners, anybody involved in business can tell you that's the big cost driver in recent years. And this budget also includes the addition of a technology multi-year option A that we've talked about to completely overhaul our infrastructure. So that's good news. We hope to get moving on that this summer and be ready for opening the school in the fall. So let's take a look at some numbers. And this will be new. Those that have been to the coffees, you've pretty much heard everything I've said to this point. So here's some actual numbers that go behind it. You'll see the current year adopted budget. You'll see the proposed budget for next year. And you'll see a percent increase. As we break it down by category, you'll see the percent increase as well as the increase or decrease in dollar amount. So you can see an overall spending about 2.4%, only requiring a tax levy increase of just under 1%. So the program budget, you can see most of the increase is in the two lines, the instruction and employee benefits. Instruction is all the expenses tied to regular instruction in the building. This is the majority of our teachers' salaries. It's the building's operating budgets, materials and supplies, staff development, contractual expenses. That also includes the year one payment for the multi-year for the technology. So that's included in that line. Special programs, you'll see this is the second year in a row we've seen a savings in special programs, so that's a good thing. We're starting to see the benefit of having the K-12 continuum of classrooms here. Save some money there. The cafeteria transfer, that's the support for our cafeteria. Pupil services includes attendance, health, guidance, extracurricular, athletics. It's all contained in that. Transportation is everything with transportation and the bus garage. Instructional media is both libraries and technology. And then employee benefits, you see a big number there. What we do for the three-part budget, and let me back up a second, if you're not familiar with this three-part budget, program, admin, and capital, that's a required means of reporting in New York State. We have to report our budget in those three parts. What we do is we take our total employee benefits budget and allocate that out. I believe it's 85% or so is to program, and then the remaining 15 is split between admin and capital. So you can see most of that is health insurance. There is a little reprieve with the retirement system reporting. So you can see an increase of 2.46% program budget. The admin budget, and if you guys have any questions along the way, feel free to jump in. The admin budget, the board of that is the board training for new board members, the district clerk, district meeting, and all necessary expenses. Central admin and finance is basically the superintendent's office and the business office. That includes auditing, central business office of BOCES, cooperative bidding. Staff, you'll see the most significant increase of almost 25%. It's a little over $9,000 is the dollar amount. The staff budget, the two reasons for the increase there is, number one, we're seeing our legal fees trending upward, looking at the last 3 to 5 years. So we budgeted a slight increase in our district's legal fees. And also, being in negotiations with both of our bargaining units, that also includes fee for contract administration through Madison Oneida BOCES Labor Relations. So that's what that number tends to jump out just because as a percentage it's such a big increase, but that's accounts for that. Special items is our liability insurance. About half of that is what we pay for our liability insurance. Also our BOCES admin fees, BOCES rent, BOCES capital budget. That makes up the special items. Admin and improvement is the principal's offices and in-service, district-wide in-service and some staff development. And then again, a portion of employee benefits. And lastly, capital. This one's probably most straightforward. Central service is operations and maintenance. That's everything from contractual services. We we bring people in here to repair the elevators, generator maintenance, to supplies and materials to the custodial department. And again, there's a little bit of an increase there as we've talked about. Our routine maintenance costs are increasing. We've talked about the potential of a building project probably in the next few years. So that's something we have to contend with. Our debt service, you'll see a little bit of a decline. And again, that's largely due to the refinancing of our existing debt last June. And then again, a corresponding share of employee benefits. So that's the breakdown of the three-part. You'll see here, so it's a total increase of just under $300,000, 2.4%. Any questions on the numbers part? Or either the general comments, expense, revenue, taxes? So again, tonight, for adopting the budget, basically what you're doing is you're adopting a budget for 17-18 in the dollar amount of $12.5 million. The timeline for the rest of the spring, in order, April 17th is when petitions are due for board candidates. We do have 2 seats that will be vacant July 1. April 24th is the date in which Debbie and I have to have all of our work done. And what that means is we have to submit our property tax report card to SED. And what that does is once you folks adopt the budget, we have paperwork and we have to submit to SED. That date is, I forget what it is, 30 days maybe. Everything works backwards off the date of the budget vote. So that is actually the Monday we get back from break. So if you recall, that's why we're having this meeting tonight, because the board has to adopt the budget and all that has to be done by that Monday. May 2nd, we are required to have the budget statement and all the supporting documentation available for view in the office. We also put it in the public library, Deb? Mm-hmm. Yeah. It'll probably be available beforehand, to be honest with you, if we have everything done by the 24th. May 5th or so, we'll mail the budget newsletter to district residents. Now, what we've always done here historically, for good reason, I believe, is we send out our newsletter prior to the budget hearing, so people can come to the hearing having an idea of what's going on. That's not a requirement. That is something that we do here. May 5th, we're going to have our senior citizen breakfast here at the school. The law requires us to have a budget hearing between 7 and 14 days prior to the budget vote. So I believe we're firm on the 8th now. To have our budget hearing and also our meet the candidates night for our board seats, and then on the 16th is the vote. So it's going to come quick. This is like the mad dash from here on out. So we put a lot of work in for a number of months, starting in November with the calendar and whatnot. Now it's kind of a mad dash to the end. So that's where we're at.
Thank you, man.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we're done with that part.
That brings us to public participation. So if anybody would like to speak or ask questions or...
I do have a quick question. So at that budget coffee, the last one, you helped me understand the logic behind changing Fred's position to full-time. Mm-hmm. I know that it's budgeted for that. It doesn't mean you're committed. So I get the logic, but I'm trying to follow on there. What's the financial, what's like a rough dollar amount difference between a full-time employee versus him being here 3 days a week? I know there's going to be a dollar amount, and then I know you talked about maybe if you got a full-time person, they'd be able to do some training, so I'm sure you save money there. So is there any idea of what a rough dollar amount to put that change 3 days a week, part-time versus a full-time?
Yeah, yeah, please.
The difference would roughly be about $30,000 for a full-time individual versus he is part-time. And the savings there is, and that's not just for any per diem, but with our current scenario with Fred, that's what it shakes out to be. And the big savings there is with the benefits.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
As a retiree, that's not a secret. I mean, that's where the big savings is. Yep.
So is the 30 including the benefit you have to give to?
Yeah.
That's not bad. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, that brings us to a motion then. Okay, can I get motions to adopt the 2017-18 proposed budget with an expenditure plan not to exceed,
Check my number, please.
$12,581,922, which includes projected BOE services, and to approve a bus proposition for 2 passenger buses at an estimate maximum cost of $180,000.
I'll move.
All second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Second motion, to approve the property tax report card. Can I get motions for that?
I'll move. Second.
Any discussion?
So which piece of all of this is actually the property tax report card?
What you gave it to us at the budget hearing?
The completed report card's will be on. We will do it now based off of this
Yeah.
information,
Okay.
and it has to be submitted by the
But
24th.
it's all of these numbers that you've given us,
Yeah.
it just
Right.
needs to be put into that. Okay, that's fine.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have motions to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing a particular personnel, a particular person, and also discussions regarding proposed pending or current litigation?
I'll move.
I'll second. Any discussion? We can. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we're in executive session and we will, thank you.